Next time I'll get it right, but for now I'll stay right here where I belong.
You have an amazing opportunity, young generation, to rise above and be proud of the choices you're making and get out of a codependent culture and be responsible for you and work harder in your life than anyone else ever will.
What do you want? What do you want out of your life? Where do you want to go? If no one else will fight, I'll be the one. I'll be the one to step into their world. I'll be the one to walk with them.
And I mean it more than you'll ever know.
Some people will ghost you, well then maybe they're not real friends. At some point in time in your life, you are gonna have to come face to face with yourself.
Next time I'm getting it right. Will you believe me if I say this is the last time?
And then she points at me and she goes, there's greatness inside of you. Sometimes we need people to believe things for us until we can believe it for ourselves. Because I look at what I'm doing now and it's not lining up with what they said I couldn't do. And now I'm doing everything that people said I couldn't do. Because now I travel the world and I share my story.
Next time I'll get it right, but for now I'll stay right here where I belong.
And by the time I was 26, I was sitting in 30-day inpatient treatment for alcohol. My family wanted nothing to do with me, couldn't hold a job. I was codependent, all because I thought I could get away with it. I should probably have about 10 DUIs, I only have 2. My last one was June 24, 2010. That was the DUI that changed my life.
For it to hurt more, to stay the same. When I get through this storm, I'll find it on my own. And I'll mean it more than you'll ever know.
And so I'm going to talk about connection and belonging. We're looking for a place to belong where someone can come out and say, hey, we want you here. I want you here. We want you around. We say we live in such a connected world. If that's the case, if we really say we're more connected, then why is everybody more depressed?
There's no dumb kid, there's no worthless kid. There's only kids that have been starved of love and have been wounded so badly, they're just looking for a place to lay. We can't change the history, but we can help shape their future.
Next time I'm getting it right.
Take one thing that you want to focus on to overcome in your life. Take one thing at a time and walk through the process. The process is only a process if one stays in it. If you don't stay in the process, then it's no longer a process. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Such a delight to be back here with you. I hope you enjoyed last week's podcast. We're going to continue going. Again, like I've said, we're going to have many things on this podcast. So stay tuned. Tune in every single week. And I really am confident that you're going to find some things for yourself. And if not just for you, but for your family, for your kids, for your parents, if your kid's watching this, whatever it may be at the end of the day. And so we're going to continue going. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that I see a lot, mainly in I've talked about the victimhood of what our society has entered into, a lot of the victimhood mentality. We're going to talk about why that actually is a thing. Why do people become the victims? So we're going to talk about introspection, and it's really, I'm going to put it in layman's terms, it's the downfall of focusing on self. This is something that a lot of people actually might not know. It might be a situation where you wonder why, like, gosh, I want to get healthy. I want to focus on the things that I need to. But when I focus too much on myself and when I'm really in myself, I actually feel more icky. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey in that for many years, but even some things how you can come out of it tonight, because it is something that actually can be a really, really big hang up for a lot of people, because we focus on ourselves, and it actually has a lot to do with like shame. If you've done something, if you got in trouble for something, or maybe if it's just the household that you live in, a lot of people might, your parents might shame you. If you do something wrong, they may say, well, why would you do that? Those are all shame type comments, shame type statements. When you're asking someone why they would do something, you scream at them, making them basically feel like they're just completely wrong for doing that. That's a lot of shame stuff. And so it's tied to that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And we're going to talk about what does it look like when you focus on yourself and what is the result of that. And not to mention how you can still hold a standard in your life and how you can still heal from the hard things that you've been through, but not be so inwardly focused that it actually becomes super self-centered. Okay. And so I want us to, if you were listening to this today and you're like, man, this could be me. For many years, I was inwardly focused because a lot of the times when you go through things, when pain is a factor, a lot of the times what happens is you actually start surviving. And by surviving, a lot of the things you're going to put up as walls, and it's called self protection. I've talked about this on this podcast before. Self protection is actually not a good thing because what it does is it really puts up walls with you and other people. Sure, it can keep the bad out, but it also will keep the good out as well. And what happens is a lot of people, they put up their walls because they've been hurt so bad in a lot of different areas of their life. And so when good people do come along, they still have their walls up and people wonder, well, like, why is it so different with them? Why can't I open up to them? Or why can't I get through them? A lot of times it's because they are self-protecting. They know letting people close to them can be lethal. It can be hurting. For many years, I had trust issues. I would let people close to me and I wouldn't have any type of boundaries because I didn't know what healthy boundaries were back then. But after a while of it, I would get hurt. And so when you keep taking, it's like when you have a wound, right? Let's say it's a splinter. I'm going to use this as, but you have a splinter and it gets infected. If someone just bumps that splinter, you're going to have a crazy reaction. Well, that's the same thing with your internal self. When you have those wounds, when there's a lot of things that have happened to you over the years, and there's so many different stories, right? Some of you may have dealt with things within your family. Some of you may have dealt with things outside of your family. I don't know what it is for you. We all have a different story. But when it comes to that, what happens is as the wounds get bigger and bigger, no matter who comes along, even if those people don't mean you harm, you're going to protect. And when they bump that wound, if you go back and listen to Bump Your Bucket Part 1 and 2, I talk a little bit about this. When someone bumps that bucket, what spills out is the wounds that were created before them. And so a lot of people self-protect and they don't let people close to them and they wonder, well, like, why can't I let people close to me? And that's why we get to this victimhood because we start thinking, well, people always come into my life and hurt me. Well, let me tell you something. If you continue to self-protect, yeah, people aren't going to stick around for that. They're going to just leave because they can't get through to you. And what you do is you drive them away anyways because you're expecting for the rug to be pulled from underneath you because you're used to people hurting you. Okay. And over time, these wounds, they turn into a lot of toxic shame, a lot of shame. And shame is a heavy topic for many people, but it turns into a lot of shame for people. And so what happens is you're focused inwardly on yourself and you can't get out of yourself. And you wonder, you're like, you kind of finally get to a place where you're like, man, this is nuts, but it's all about you. It's all about you. And when you're so inwardly focused, you are going to not be able to heal because you're only focused on the pain that you are experiencing in your life. And for many years, I had introspection. I was just looking so much inside myself. It was all about me, me, me. And how do I get out of this? How do I get that? Well, when you're so focused on anything else, you don't even open yourself up to other possibilities that it could be. Maybe if someone comes into your life that maybe can help you because relationships are important. A lot of relationships, I'm not saying relationships need to be codependent, but we need people. I've said this many times. We are wired for relationship. And so when people come along in our lives, if we're not healthy, we're not going to be able to attract healthy people. Okay. People, I've said this before, and some people don't agree with this, but I'm here to tell you right now, we will always attract what we are. There's no way around that. We will always attract what we are. Okay. If we're not healthy, we're going to continue to attract not healthy. And I'm not even talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about any type of relationships, platonic, friendships, whatever it is, even with your family, right? A lot of the times, some people can't separate themselves from their family because of the simple fact that they're unhealthy like their families are. Okay. And that's when you get into really not having boundaries with family. That's really kind of for a different episode, but you're always going to attract what you are. Okay. There's no way around that. And so if you continue to stay unhealthy and you continue to focus inwardly because you don't know how to get out of yourself, to look outside of yourself for a bigger thing, to be like, man, I need to figure something out. What happens over time is you're going to attract the same people that focus on themselves. And so just imagine that for a minute. Two people coming together, right? Two people coming together that are so focused on themselves, like you're not going to have a great relationship in that. It's going to be continually outdoing like what I need and what they need. And you're going to be continually voicing your needs to this person, and they're going to be voicing their needs to you. And you guys won't ever be able to have a healthy relationship because you guys are both focused on yourself. Okay. I'm telling you, this can actually be a really big roadblock for people. For many years, this was a roadblock in my life. I could not figure out how to get out of myself. The pain was so great. And I had to figure out, okay, what is it going to take for me not to be so focused on myself? Because I was in survival mode for many years, self-protection mode. I was afraid that I was always going to get hurt, that I was never going to have enough. And so these mindsets, they start to develop in us. And we focus so much on ourselves that we actually can't receive healing that may be coming. We can't receive words from other people that may have a good thing for us. And what really happens is I saw a lot of this year actually in the program that I was running in schools. What happens is if you're so focused on yourself, when you're bumped inside, you're going to get mad at the person that's trying to help you. Instead of saying, well, there's a reason why I'm triggered right now, or there's a reason why I'm unsettled. What you're going to do is, because you're so focused on yourself and you can't possibly fathom the fact that there is something wrong with you, what will happen is you'll start pointing the finger at the person that's telling you what you need to hear. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Okay? So focusing on ourselves can be a big roadblock and hinder us from moving forward. And it actually will block your healing. You won't be able to heal. Okay? So we have to start getting out of ourselves and start looking at the bigger picture if we want to be able to go the distance in this healing journey. Okay? If you're listening to this right now, I don't want you to settle at wearing your pain as a badge of honor. I don't want you to settle with shame being the way that you always live your life, because the chances are you are going to sabotage so much stuff for yourself. Because when you see something healthy and when you see something good, you actually will not be able to hold on to it because it'll feel super weird to you. And when we've been wounded over a period of time, even let's say we've been sad or depressed for a long time, when something like joy comes along, we struggle with actually letting that emotion stay because we're not used to being in a state of happiness or being joyful. And so What we'd rather do is stuff it back down because we've gotten comfortable in our pain. We've gotten comfortable sitting in our mess. Me and my admin, we talk about this all the time. She said years ago she got this vision one time that it's like Charlie Brown. I believe it's Charlie Brown. He carried around one of the characters. It might have been Charlie Brown. He carried around a bunch of a little blankie with him, and I think it was Charlie Brown, and he carried it wherever he went. Okay. Well, the picture that she got, it was related to the fact that that's what people do. That the blanket represents the pain that they've endured in their life, and they carry it around like a blanket because it's comfortable for them. Okay. It's super comfortable for them. So what a lot of people will do because they carry pain around for years, when something different comes around. I remember for many years I would self-sabotage. If I saw something like good coming and I was in it and it felt super weird, because I was so focused on the fact that inside of me was so hurtful, I was hurting because I focused on that so much. When something good came, automatically I would sabotage it. Automatically, if someone came to my life, I'd start telling them, well, you're just going to leave anyway. You're just going to do this. You're just going to do that. And so one of the main symptoms of introspection is the fact that you will self-sabotage. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, healing is a process and healing is a journey. I'm so passionate about healing because the simple fact that if you do not heal, you will not have the life that you want. I've seen many people go through life and they're in their 60s and 70s and they have many regrets because they didn't heal from the things that they needed to. They're miserable, the pain. And I have compassion for those people because I've been to that place. It's not a fun place to be in. Okay. It's not a fun place to be in. But I knew that I had to heal my heart because I knew that this was not going to be sustainable the way I was living. Okay. And that's where the depression does come from. When we hold on to the pain, right? In introspection, and we're just all so focused on ourselves and what we're not getting, that we actually fail to see when good things come along that could actually help us come out of our mess. If you want to get out of introspection and you want to stop focusing on yourself, you have to bring people into the chaos with you. You have to bring someone into the journey. Don't bring people in the journey that actually have the same issues as you. That's not going to work. But you have to bring people in to the journey with you. I have people to this day that when I am not myself, they call it out in me, and I give them permission because I know the cost of sitting in my mess. Okay. And I'm a human being. There's hurts that I still endure. There's things that happen to me. Okay. And so I have to be able to continually search inside of myself to heal, not stay stuck in it for so long, because then what happens is after you stay stuck in it for so long, when you actually want to come out of it, you won't do it. And you'll get mad for people trying to bring you out. But not only that, you will continue to perpetuate the problem and it will become bigger and bigger. And then what happens at the end of it, it won't be manageable. It won't be manageable. And you use things to mask it. Okay. Some self-harm. That's how they mask it. Some have relationships. That's how they mask it. Some do substances, whatever it is for you. But then you just cycle and cycle around thinking that victimhood is the place to stay when that is actually lethal. The longer you become a victim, the harder it is going to be actually to become a victor. Okay. I want us to start really championing healthy. This is a challenge to everyone looking and watching this and listening to this podcast. Healthy living is literally the best thing that you will ever do. It's not easy. I can't lie about that. When you have had years of pain and years of pride of just focusing on yourself and poor me and look at what happened to me, it's hard to come out and it's going to take some time. But that journey is worth it because what you will do for not only yourself, but one day your family and generations to come is you will show them a standard of living that they may have never had the chance to have. But because you decided that healthy living was where you were going to go, that's what they have access to. Okay. Please, if nothing else, take home that you watching this, who's ever listening to this right now, you have the ability to change the generational messes, the generational cycles in your family that have been around for decades. Some of you have generational messes in your family that have been around for decades and that you don't know about. Okay. And it's crazy. It's real. It's some of it's molestation, it's anger, it's murder, it's addiction, whatever it may be. But what you do is when you decide to say, the buck stops with me, I'm going to be the one that holds the standard for not only myself and the people around me, but my family as well, and my kids one day. When you're that person and you decide to actually do that, you will give them a whole new world of possibilities that would not be available to them if you hadn't done the work. I was watching a sermon one time, and the lady speaking, I think it was Sarah Jakes Roberts, I can't remember. She said, how many of you raise your hands if you're going to slay your giants so your kids don't have to? And I just loved that. And I know that my journey is breaking generational messes and cycles in my family that have been around for years, and I will not stand for it anymore. I will not let them stay. I'm holding a standard for my life. I'm saying, nope, the buck stops with me, and we're going to continue to move forward. And I'm not going to stay in my mess. I'm not going to focus on myself and have so much pride and shame for the things that I've been through, but I'm going to say I'm going to become healthy so I can pass it to the next person that's coming behind me. I really hope this helped today. I love you all. You're going to be okay. We're going to do this together. So much gold inside of you. I won't stop calling it out. And that is what greatness is going to be walked out in your life. Keep climbing. I'm here for you. We want to hear from you. Peer Purpose Podcast at gmail.com. Would love to answer your questions. Would love to know where you're listening from. And just if we can be a resource. Okay. For those of you who don't know, the podcast has now started coming out Tuesday mornings at 4 a.m. We have the live show. It's a delight to be here with you. I am rooting for you, and I'm going to champion you till we both get there together. See y'all next time.